Right. Hi, this is Chris Berry, certified LLA attorney, certified financial planner with Castle Wealth Group. And this is our weekly wisdom webinar where every week we answer any questions that are submitted and provide legal, financial, and tax education. And there's no agendas, no specific agendas each week. We just start with a positive focus, something positive that's happened, and then I get into answering any questions that have been submitted. And we do have one set of questions that's submitted today. If you do have any other questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. My positive focus was that we were on the verge of a legitimate bull market, but we'll see what the Feds are going to do today. It may have an effect on what's going up. Already the markets are down a little bit today. But it was pretty exciting that I think the Dow's up about 22% since its last big drop. So we were going in the right direction, but we'll see what the Feds are going to do. And so I was going to talk about some things to do given that the markets has been going up. In terms of looking at that cash that we've been sitting on the side, maybe now's the time to reallocate it. If we have some fixed index annuities, maybe now is time to take free withdrawals, just with the idea that things are continuing to go up. But again, with the Feds today, we'll see what actually happens. On a personal note, positive focus is my kids are out of school. They got out on Memorial Day, which is super early, but it's eased up our weekends where we don't have flag football, 2 soccer games, and a swim meet each weekend. So it's freed up our weekends a little bit. So, all right. So with that, let's get into the question here that was submitted. And if you do have any other questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. But the question, oops, let me take that one out. So the question that was submitted, doesn't an estate have to wait for the 1040 taxes to be filed before making any distributions to beneficiaries? Can an estate file its 2023 taxes now, or must it wait until the end of the year? Okay, so 2 questions, really they're linked together. The first question is relating to, okay, let's say someone passes away during the middle of the year. What happens? Well, you still have to do a last tax return, assuming there's any taxes. Like, granted, I'm not a CPA, but we do have a CPA that's affiliated with us. So someone passes away throughout the year, yes, you have to do a final tax return. If they pass away like January 1st, like I think technically you're supposed to, but like how much income would there be? Probably not much, but I've deferred to our CPA on that. But yeah, so we're almost halfway through the year. So if we lost a loved one, there's going to most likely be some tax consequences or something that's showing up as income throughout the year. And so a last return is going to have to be filed. Now, the first question is, do you have to wait to make distributions before you file that last tax return? And the answer is no. So in terms of just estate administration, kind of the process is that first we have to get death certificates, we have to get an inventory of assets, and then once we have that inventory and assets, then we start paying off any final expenses. And during this process, we can make distributions to our beneficiaries. I always counsel our clients to wait at least a month or so just to gather up all the bills that are coming in, understand what's out there before thinking about making any distributions whatsoever. So I wouldn't really make any distributions for at least the first month or so, depending on the size of the estate. Like if we have millions in the estate, chances are there's not going to be millions worth of expenses. Because the concern is if you make a distribution and then there's additional bills that have to be paid on the estate, whether they're like final expenses or hospital bills or whatever it may be, or tax bills, it's kind of hard to get the money back from the beneficiaries that you already gave money to. So yes, you can make distributions from the estate or from the trust prior to handling the last tax return. I always caution clients, just make sure that if there's going to be any costs, that you save some money back in the trust account or save some money back in the estate account. Just because I don't want there to be a tax bill and then now you as the personal representative or trustee are on the hook hoping to get reimbursed from the other beneficiaries where you already made a distribution. So So getting back to the question, do you have to wait until like April of next year when you do the last tax return to make distributions? The answer is definitely not. Just hold back enough funds so that if there is a tax bill at the end of the day, that you have enough funds to cover that. And then the second part of that question was, do you have to wait until the end of the year to file that last tax return? The answer is no. And so typically but I would defer to whoever the tax preparer or CPA is on that case, whether it's our CPA or whoever you're using, whoever has been doing the last tax return. I would get with them just because they're going to know the tax situation a little bit better. But as a general rule, no, you don't have to wait. You can always file early. In fact, that might be helpful as long as everything is accurate. So that you can make a distribution early or you can know what your tax bill is going to be at the end of the day. There are some reasons why you might want to wait because the feds have made mid-year changes to some of the tax code, tax laws. In fact, 2020, just a couple of years ago, they made some in-year changes to the tax rules, like with regards to required minimum distributions and things like that. So as a general rule, we don't really recommend filing early, but in situations, especially if it's a very simple situation, then I wouldn't see an issue. But again, I would defer to whoever the last person doing the tax return has been with regards to that final tax filing. Okay, let's see if I have any other questions coming in. Okay, so just here's another, I guess, question that actually was real life client situation that just occurred as I was hopping on the call today. We have husband. So the question was, wife is about to pass away. They're joint on a piece of property. They have the property that they want to sell. What do they have to do given that they're joint on the property? Wife is about to pass away. They want to sell this property. So typically with when we have a married couple, husband and wife, typically we'll have it joint ownership. We'll do what's called a ladybird deed. There's really two scenarios typically. We'll have it where we have a ladybird deed where it's in husband and wife's name or the married couple's name while they're alive, and then upon death it flows into the trust. That's if we have a revocable living trust. If we have an asset protection trust like a castle trust, then we'd have it deeded directly into the trust. So let's say, okay, now spouse passes away and they still want to sell the property. Well, then what we're going to most likely need is just a death certificate from the deceased spouse. Because if it's joint ownership with right of survivorship with that ladybird deed that says it goes into the trust upon death, with that death certificate, then that automatically means the surviving spouse is a sole owner. And by recording the death certificate with the Register of Deeds, then that's going to tell the Register of Deeds that just the surviving spouse is the only one that needs to sign. So it avoids having to go to court or anything like that. All we would need is a death certificate. And then if it's actually in the trust, and let's say husband and wife are trustees, then all we might need in that situation is a certificate of trust. So unfortunately, we got this call just before hopping on here, and the spouse, the husband, was concerned, like, what do I need to do at this last minute? And a lot of times at the last minute, there really isn't much from a legal standpoint to do. So it's just kind of be there through the process. So my heart's kind of going out to that family right now. But all right, let me see if there's any other questions. All right, so that looks like that's it. So if you do have any questions coming up, anything you want us to cover, feel free to just email us or shoot us a note. We'll make sure to cover it on the next webinar, which will be next week. And then if there's anything individually that you need help with, please let us know. And then we are doing our in-person educational workshops again. So I was meeting with a client today. Their neighbor was a veteran, 65, and she thought it would be great to attend one of our workshops. So today we're doing one in Novi. We have some coming up in Brighton, Livonia, Ann Arbor, as well as Lansing. So if you do want to attend one of our educational workshops where we talk legal, financial, and tax planning for the second half of life, just give our office a call or shoot us an email. So if you do want to attend one of our live workshops, let us know. But with that, take care, everyone. Make it a great week.